Okay, good day to you. So today we're actually going to be starting with algebra, the addition edition. Yeah, that's right. I did that again. So here we have two examples. The first example is pretty straightforward, right? X plus 7 equals 19. And maybe you already know what the answer is, what X needs to be. But we're not that interested in what X needs to be because nobody really cares what X needs to be. We need a process for finding an unknown value in algebra. Okay, finding an unknown value in an equation. In this case, we're calling it X. So the first thing that we always want to do with these guys is we want to isolate the letter. I'm calling it X right now, but whatever that letter is. Isolate B, isolate C, isolate the variable. Okay? So in order to isolate the variable, we need to get it by itself. So I always like to think of these equations as a balance scale, right? And what that's telling me is that the right-hand side is equal to the left-hand side. I think I did that backwards, but you get the idea. So really what that's saying is that X plus 7 is equal to 19. Basically, we're just saying 19 equals 19. It's exactly the same. However, on this side, 19 is written as two different parts. There's an X part and a 7 part to 19, right? But they're both adding to 19, right? So 19 equals 19. We want to find out what that X part is. So to figure out what that X part is, we have to get rid of that 7 part, right? The plus 7. So how do we do that? Well, if we've got 7 apples on this side of the scale, and we want to get rid of those 7 apples, what do we do to get rid of it? We have to do the opposite or the inverse operation to what we see on the page here, right? So right now we're adding 7 to that side of the equal sign. We'll need to do the inverse. We'll need to subtract 7. If we're subtracting 7 from this side, we also must subtract 7 from that side, right? So in this case, we ended up subtracting 7 from both sides. And different questions are different, but in this case, we ended up subtracting 7 from both sides. So what I usually say here is that I know that 7 minus 7 is 0. 7 minus 7 is 0, and I call that canceling, right? So I say I want to cancel where I can, or cancel where you can, right? Right, so it's kind of canceling. 7 minus 7 is 0, right? So they canceled out. But I still have some stuff left over. So what I like to do is I like to rewrite. And then lastly, we're going to calculate whatever's left. Okay. So when I look at what I have here, what do I have left? On this side of the equal sign, I just have an X. And then, of course, I have my equals. And on that side, I have 19 minus 7. Okay? And sometimes this part is really easy, the calculating part, and sometimes it's less easy, right? 19 minus 7, regardless of how you do that, is going to equal 12, right? And so there you go. That's the first question done. So, that's the first step done. So actually, I guess one small problem here is that this calculating thing is probably actually a second step to calculate. So the first step was to isolate X, and then the second step was to calculate. Okay? So we'll do the same thing with this other example, and then I'll probably have one more for you. So this time we're not isolating X, we're isolating B, right? We're going to get B by itself, but the same idea. So I'm going to make my little balance scale here. But this time I want to get b by itself. I want to get b alone on that side of the equal sign, right? So who's bothering b over here? B has the -6 on the same side, right? How do I get rid of that -6, right? I owe $6, want to pay it off. How do I get rid of that -6? I have to add 6. So the way I show this work is that when I'm adding 6 to this side of the equal sign, I just put it above and to the right of the thing I'm trying to affect, okay? So instead of putting it over here or something like that, I'm just putting it above and to the right, that -6, right? This means -6 plus 6 plus b, right? But I think it's a nice, convenient place to put it, so it's easy to cancel out later, okay? I've added 6 to this side. If I add $6 to this side of the equation, I have to also add $6 to that side of the equation, okay? So then we want to cancel where we can and rewrite, okay? So when I cancel, 6 minus 6, these guys cancel out, and rewriting is just from left to right. So from left to right, I got -9 plus 6 is equal to b. That's all I have left, right? -9 plus 6 is equal to, these guys are gone, so plus b equals b. Now I've got something I can calculate, right? And that's what all I have to do is to calculate. And I don't care how you deal with integers anymore. I've shown you what I'd like to see, but whatever you do is fine, right? You're going 9 backward, -9, and you're going 6 forward, plus 6. So you know that you're ending up in the negative space, and 9 minus 6 is -3. Okay, so here are 2 examples for addition equations using integers, basically positive and negative integers. I'm going to do another video showing you an example with real numbers and with fractions, okay? Just to mix things up a bit. Okay, so thank you very much for watching. We'll see you soon.